Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I'm Lauren. I'm a wife and a new mom. I came up with the idea of this podcast after struggling to find mommy groups around me when my son was born. I wanted a community of mothers I heard so many of my friends talk about when they had their children. This podcast is to help mothers like me that want a community of mothers to connect with when they have their free time. Together with my usual guest, Taryn, and other mothers, we will share our experiences, not our advice, through motherhood, and hopefully get some tips from you, the listeners. So come join us on the Mommy Escape Time podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Mommy Escape Time podcast. I am Lauren, your host. Taryn is not with me today. It's just me, Lauren. And I know what you're thinking. Is this really going to come up as a full episode, or am I going to listen for a minute and it's going to stop? Hopefully not. I went back with my, it's a very long story, but podcast provider. And for some reason, the minute that I was uploading my last podcast, there was some sort of glitch. So there was no way to ever get it to come up again for some reason, no matter how many times I uploaded it. So it didn't work out. But this time, hopefully it's working out. So anyways, Taryn is not here because Taryn has started to go back to school for a degree in restorative justice. And so during this school year, which ends sometime in June, I should know the exact date, but I don't. She has to concentrate on school, and our schedules just don't match up right now. So she will be in some future podcast, sort of, but until this summer, she probably won't be in any podcasts. So it's just me today, and today is going to be kind of like a Mother's Day episode. I just want to talk about some mothers who have helped me when I first became a mother. And some things that were taught to me along the way, seeing other people who are mothers, because that's a great way to celebrate Mother's Day. So I guess I can just start the show then. So it will be shorter because it's just me talking, and without two voices, it's just not as long of a show. And I'm going to try not to say so 50,000 times during this episode. So I just did it again. That's my transition word instead of saying but I say so more often that it just makes it even worse. I am going to move on from that and not say the word so. The first person that I'm going to talk about is my mom. That is the easiest person to talk about because I think once you become a mother and your mother is in your own personal mother is in your life or a part of your life in some way, you have a totally different understanding of everything that your mother has done for you, everything your mother went through, and it just sort of shifts your perspective. So I am a very let's say a strong-willed child I was, and my mom probably had to put up with a lot from me. So I am very grateful for her. I was very grateful for her in the very beginning when I first had my child, because that first month, oh my gosh, everyone was like, oh, the first week was so hard, and then it got easier. And it was the whole first month, I never felt like I knew what I was doing. So I was very grateful because my mom, I think, was here almost the first 2 months that my child was here helping me out. And there's no way we could have gotten through that time without my mom. So I am grateful in general for that. And it's funny how quick moms can just pick up being a mom and taking care of a baby at any point with no practice after so many years. So some things just don't change when they're first born. But the biggest thing that my mom has taught me is probably the importance of family. And I don't mean the importance of just your immediate family. It's your extended family also, meaning that when things are tough or things are so busy and you're I can't keep up with this and I can't keep up with this and all I can do is just me for that time, it's okay to ask your family first or those family obligations or those family birthday parties or those family gatherings are the things that you don't say no to. You just, even if it's for a little bit, because the time that you get to spend with your family knows you the best, your immediate family and your extended family. I am finding now that with my cousins specifically, that like that relationship is all new because we all have kids now also. So even us cousins, and it's great because your family understands that you're busy and they totally get that you have a life. And that you have no life actually now that you have a child, or that your life is just so different now that your time is spent differently. Maybe that's the better way to say it. Um, your time is just so spent differently. So you don't have the time to maybe communicate with everyone that you want to or stay active the way you want to. But your family totally understands that. They understand what you're going through. And so you can call them or text them anytime and, they get it. So it's important to just keep that family relationship alive. So that's always the biggest thing that I just try. Like, I would say this whole first year has been like survival mode. And not all the times, but it comes in waves, especially with work. And I just try to make sure that family obligations, whether it's for my husband's family or my family, that's what comes first. And then anything other than that is extra that I get to do. And even your friends who have kids understand, and maybe your friends that don't have kids don't understand. But if they're true friends, they understand that there are those times where you just don't get to spend time with them as much. So the next mother that I'm going to talk about is my friend Teresa. Hopefully, it's okay that I used her name. My friend Teresa and I have known each other since grad school, and we we've been through a lot together. Um, so it's really cool. She had two kids, and her third kid is 3 months older than my son, and she had two girls and then a boy. So we were excited that we both had boys that are around the same age. We don't live anywhere near each other anymore. It's really funny. We used to live like a quarter mile away from each other. And then we moved not so far away from me, like a town over, and then many towns over. And then it started to become the states over. Um, so we're really funny because we can just pick up wherever we left off at any point. And I could text her, after not talking to her for 6 months and just like randomly be like, oh my gosh, my child's doing this. What do I do? And she'll text me back. So we all have those types of friends, hopefully. So the one thing Teresa taught me is if there is someone that has a child around your same age, especially if they've had the child before you, stay in contact with them. Those are the people that you need in your life because they're the people that are living it or have just lived it, a month or two beforehand, or it makes such a difference. Those people are the people that help you get through your day. It's important that you have people that know what it's like in the moment, especially that first couple of weeks, the first month, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And I remember Teresa and I used to text at like midnight doing feedings that first month. And I was like, she's like, yep, I'm up feeding. She's like, what about you? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm feeding. I'm like, what do I do about this? What do I do about this? I'm like, he's just always eating. He's always eating. What am I going to do? And she would just be like, you're going to figure it out. She's like, just let it go for the first month, and then, try and get on a schedule after that first month. And it was so hard because I was, teacher type A, trying to get on a schedule right away with my child did not work out. And not having that schedule did help me out. And another thing with Teresa is that she, I feel like mothers who have gotten a lot of advice know how to state suggestions that you might want to do as opposed to advice. And you all know those types of people. So Teresa will phrase it. I'll ask her a question like, oh my gosh, I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, he's not sleeping through the night. I don't know what child sleeps through the night at 2 weeks, but that was my dream. And that's when Teresa was like, well, I don't know, but what I do is this, this, and this. She's like, so maybe it'll work for you, but who knows? She's like, I've had 3 kids and not all the same thing has worked. So I think phrasing it that way is, with this child, I did this, and with this child, I did that. So see what works for you. And I think that's kind of like you have to just keep trying things until it works for you, but you almost need to know what those things are as opposed to, and I'm sure you all have had this happen to you, a person that says, oh, yeah, my child's having trouble sleeping. Oh, well, you have to do this. If you're not doing this, it's never going to work. And those absolutes are obviously what is the hardest part because it's no child is the same. Even in the first year, what works isn't the same. My mom always used to say, as soon as you figure out something with the baby and you feel like you're on the right track, that's when a change comes. Because you have to change it up. In the first 2 years, they change so much. So that's about Teresa. Ugh, I was doing so well with my so's, and I just said 3, I think, in that last minute. If you have been a listener since the beginning of our podcast, Becky was also on my show. She might return again this summer when we are not working. But again, Becky also has 3 kids, and she does not have any time during the school year for her and I to be in the same place or even to be online at the same time at the same place. So I'm also suffering from some allergies, and I'm trying to record the show before I completely lose my voice for tomorrow. So Becky taught me probably the most valuable advice, which at the time, well, it's not advice, it was a suggestion or a thought maybe, that when you start feeding your child food, you do what you can, or even what it came to either however you feed your child, you're going to do what you need to do. And you don't need to be judged by other people by what you are feeding your child. It's so easy to judge people. That's the easy way out. And to hold your tongue and to listen and to not say anything is the hard part. And Becky really taught me that, you know what? There are some days where you just go to McDonald's. And there are just some days that you have to think of it as you're feeding your child. You are feeding your child. So you made sure that your child ate today. And you know what? It's okay if they have McDonald's, if that's what you had that day, because that's what you were able to feed them. And you were able to provide them with food that they could eat. I think sometimes people stress out that it has to be this and it has to be this or it has to be that. And yes, of course, you should be trying to feed your child a well-balanced diet with everything that you can, as much as you can. However, being a special ed teacher, and just like I said with Teresa, absolutes don't work. Okay? There's no, every time this happens, we have to do this. Absolutes they just don't exist for motherhood. You try them, of course, and you try to keep consistency, but there are just some days you just can't do it. And so it's okay. And you do whatever works for you. I have found that I used to just buy like whole fruits and vegetables and cut them up every day. And I was like, I am spending like 30 minutes every day just cutting up fruits and vegetables for my son and then cooking them. And I finally figured out that, yep, it's okay to buy the pre-cut fruit. Yep, it's more expensive. Normally things that save time are, but I can definitely try it and see how it goes. And I could cut back in other ways for things that maybe I was eating, because it saves me so much time, and I could just go in the refrigerator, grab whatever it is, cut it up, and throw it in a container and send it off to school or his daycare. Sorry, not school. We call it school because that's just what we do. Um, And on the weekends, then I could just pull it out of the refrigerator, warm it up for 10 seconds, and then he could just eat it. So I'm not cooking as much food. And especially at this age where you have to cut everything up for them already, it's so much work sometimes, just to feed them a meal. And yes, you could probably prep all on a Saturday or Sunday to get all their food done for the week. I just I have my son eat what we eat for dinner half the time, so I can't plan that in advance. So it doesn't work out like that. And sometimes I can, and sometimes I can't. So I just said so again. But it works out. So I make it work to see how I can feed my child. And it's okay. It doesn't matter. And no one knows what you're feeding your child unless you tell them. And if someone sees you out eating somewhere, who cares? Okay? Because they're there too. So it doesn't matter. And of course, you all, if you have been listening before, have heard from Taryn. And one of the things that she really taught me was how important it is to see your child, see you, I don't want to say struggle, but like overcome things and get better at something. So Taryn worked very, very hard to become healthy and stay fit. And she gets up every morning, I don't know, at like 3:45 in the morning, every morning during the week, and goes to the gym and works out and comes home, showers, has her food all packed for the day, has her kids' food all packed for the day, and then comes to work, works all day, goes to pick up her kids, does stuff with the kids, and sometimes goes back to the gym. And I think it's so important that the kids see that you're taking that time for yourself and that you are doing something for you. And specifically in this case, that Taryn is showing her kids how to lead a healthy lifestyle, because it's very easy to say, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. But seeing it and seeing, not just being parents that say, you need to do this, you need to do this, and then do the exact opposite. I think kids respect it more when they see that you are actually doing what you preach. And that's something that I take all the time. Like, I don't expect my child to be quiet all the time because I'm not quiet all the time. And I don't expect him to be 100% perfect when we go out to eat and he's sitting in a high chair. I expect him to be like a 1 year old that he is. So I think your expectations of your kids should not be higher than what yours are. That's kind of what I'm getting at, what I've learned from Taryn, and what she's taught me. And that's what I take with me. If you listen to the episode that Pyle was just on talking about self care, she started a whole business for moms so that they could take self care. And I know it's such a small thing, but following her on Instagram and getting those reminders like, you need to take time for yourself. And I know so many of you out there say, I don't have time for myself. How am I going to find time for myself? If you can find 1 minute of your day to be alone in a room and breathe on your own, that is time for yourself in a day. And I know that sounds hard, and it might be after your child is asleep. It can be. I try to do it during the week. I'm in like I don't know how to describe this. It's like a mother's book club, and so I read for 10 minutes and do the workbook after my child goes to sleep during the week, and that is my me time to kind of center me. It's all about me. I go in a room all by myself. There's no TV. I don't have my phone with me or anything like that. It's just me there. And the first minute, all I do is I just sit there and take some deep breaths and breathe. And that's sometimes just what you need, is physically having that break, because it's very easy to put your child to sleep, get ready for bed and go to bed and watch TV. And even watching TV is getting time to yourself. But with me, that means that my husband is also there, which is fine, but it's not time for me then. You know, we're still talking, we're still doing things, getting ready for the next day and stuff like that. So it's not time for just me. And I used to be alone a lot. And now I am hardly ever alone, just myself. So I'm Pyle really following Pyle and taking some of the classes that she has will really help that because it's sometimes hard to even like figure out like where can I start? Like there's no way I can start. And sometimes you just need that outside person that can be like, you could do this. You could do this. We just do one step at a time. And hopefully one day Pyle will have her community center for moms like nationwide where it's just it is what it is, what you need it for. Do you need to exercise? Fine. Someone's watching your kids, you can exercise. You need just a massage, then you go get a massage while your kids sit here. You know, it her idea for her community center for moms, I really hope someday takes off because we all could use it. The last group of people I want to talk about is I work with obviously other people as a teacher. And as a group, they have sort of taught me that you do what you can. You are a working mother at the end. I am a working mother at the end of the day. And even if you are not at a job as a working mother, you are a working mother because you're staying home with your kids, and that is a job, no matter what anyone else says. Um, and you you do what you need to do to get through the day. So, whatever it happens to be, if you need to run out and grab lunch and not get it for your kids, that's fine. Not a problem. If you're at work and you just cannot pack your lunches anymore and you have to stop to grab lunch every morning on your way to work, then that's what you have to do. Or if you have to grab breakfast in the morning because you just have to. You have to find those little things that make your life easier so that you can get through the day. Because no matter what, you have a day and you have to get through it. And it doesn't have to be that you have to get through it, but you're trying to make it as enjoyable as possible. So, whatever you need to do within reason, obviously, is what you should be doing. So, um, that's pretty much it. So, that will wrap up our Mother's Day episode. I, of course, want to remind you that Mother's Day can be very hard for some people. Specifically, I have a friend that just lost his mother recently, and I just think about it every day as we get closer to Mother's Day. Like, what can I say? How can I make this Mother's Day better for him? And I can't. There's nothing I could say, and there's nothing I can do. And obviously, people who are trying to be mothers or who have been mothers and have experienced loss, this day is must be just unimaginable. Another unimaginable day for them. So please just be supportive of those who are struggling, and you don't even know who might be struggling or who might have experienced loss. So just know that, you know, we have to be sensitive to one and all because we are here to support each other as mothers. So that will wrap up today's episode. If you would like to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, it is Mommy Escape Time. And if you would like to leave some reviews, we would love them, especially word reviews would be great. So we will talk to you next time and have a great Mother's Day and have a great week. Bye.